Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me as ever...
Here's Joey!
That's right, it's Joe Sherville.
Hi.
My podcast friend forever and ever and ever. And this week we are talking about the all-time classic horror movie, The Shining.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, based on the Stephen King novel of the same name, released in 1980. And obviously, later on in the podcast, we will get into our namesake. It's the How to Survive. But Joe, before all that work, we need to play. Otherwise, we'll be a dull podcast.
Yes.
And so...
That's the last thing we want, isn't it?
Exactly. And to start with, we will recap the plot. Because, it could be up to 36 years since someone's seen the film. If they watched it in 1980. So they might need a little recap of the plot, and it's a great plot, so, enjoy it. Enjoy the retelling of it. The way it was meant to be enjoyed. Yeah.
Laboriously told across about 4 minutes.
Yeah, well, 4 minutes is probably ambitious.
So if you haven't seen it in a while, hopefully this will give you a good refresher.
And if you haven't seen it at all, then, what have you been doing? But, of course, we are... all about spoilers here at the How to Survive show. So, if you haven't seen it, go watch it and report back for our chat afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know where you'd find it other than everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on Channel 4, must be every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and DVD for probably 50p or something. Yes, so, The Shining. Jack Torrance, played by Jack Nicholson, of course, arrives at the isolated Overlook Hotel, which is 25 miles from the closest town, to interview for the position of winter caretaker. Once hired, Jack plans to use the hotel's solitude to write. The hotel, built on the site of a Native American burial ground, becomes snowed in during the winter. It's closed from October to May.
Long time.
That's over half of a year.
Yeah.
Imagine owning a business where you can only operate for 5 months of the year.
It would be limiting, wouldn't it? It's like having a
early How to Survive tip. Don't.
If you had a Christmas shop, maybe September, October, November, December, it's 4 months.
I guess they could all go off and do another run at a different hotel.
Well, they could open their Christmas shops. Yeah,
that's true.
A different hotel, like a desert island that becomes too hot during the summer, so they can't go there.
Manager Stuart Ullman, played by Barry Nelson, Joe, warns Jack that a previous caretaker, Charles Grady, developed cabin fever and killed his family and then himself. In Boulder, which is the town from which Jack Torrance has driven for the interview, Danny Torrance, his son, has a terrifying premonition about the hotel, viewing a cascade of blood emerging from an elevator door and then falls into a trance. We also learn that Jack has given up drinking because he once dislocated Danny's shoulder following a binge. The family arrives at the hotel, because obviously Jack got the job, on closing day and is given a tour. The chef, Dick Halloran, played by the brilliantly named Scatman Crothers, surprises Danny by telepathically offering him ice cream. Dick explains to Danny that he and his grandmother shared this telepathic ability, which he calls shining. Danny asks if there is anything to be afraid of in the hotel, particularly room 237. Halloran tells Danny that the hotel has a shine to it along with many memories, not all of which are good. He also tells Danny to stay out of room 237. A month passes. Danny and Wendy explore the hotel's hedge maze. Wendy becomes concerned about the phone lines being out due to the heavy snowfall, and Danny has frightening visions. Jack, increasingly frustrated by apparent writer's block, starts acting strangely and becomes prone to violent outbursts. Danny's curiosity about room 237 overcomes him when he sees the room's door is open. Later, Wendy finds Jack screaming during a nightmare while asleep at his typewriter. After she awakes him, Jack says he dreamed that he killed her and Danny. Danny arrives with a bruise on his neck and traumatized, causing Wendy to accuse Jack of abusing him. Jack wanders idly into the hotel's gold room and meets a ghostly bartender named Lloyd. Lloyd serves him bourbon while Jack complains about his marriage.
Yeah.
Where did he come from, Joe? Danny tells his mother that a crazy woman in one of the rooms attempted to strangle him. Jack investigates room 237, encountering the ghost of a dead woman, but tells Wendy that he saw nothing. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, he's a victim of his own creation, isn't he, really?
Who?
Jack.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because at that point I'd say, look, there is something weird in there. I agree.
Yeah.
Whatever it was probably did hurt Danny.
Yeah.
Let's just barricade ourselves in the apartment.
Yeah, well, maybe there's a reason he's not taking your advice,
Yeah, maybe.
Joe, at this point in the film.
We'll see.
Wendy and Jack argue over whether Danny should be removed from the hotel, and a furious Jack returns to the gold room, now filled with ghosts attending a ball. You say ghosts, they're just people.
Yeah,
but
they're not spectral. They're just It's like there's a ball happening.
Yeah, but
although it can't be because the place is deserted.
Yeah. He meets the ghost of Delbert Grady. Interestingly, not Charles Grady. Different name. Who tells Jack that he must correct his wife and child, and that Danny has reached out to Halloran using his talent. Halloran realises that something is wrong at the hotel and flies back to Colorado.
Yeah.
To intervene.
From Miami.
Yeah. He looks like he's just arrived as well.
Yeah,
he's like just in a room. He's just got his feet up.
He's got his posters up.
Yeah. Well, are they his, or are they just? Is he just in a motel?
A motel with like
naked black women.
Yeah.
On a poster. Well, maybe.
There seems to be. I'm not stereotyping, but like, did he pick the room because of that?
What you mean? They're posters that might interest.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Halloran.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think you are making judgments.
I'm not judging anyone. He can. What someone does in the privacy of their own motel room is up to them.
Fair enough. Well, then it is a motel room.
I don't know. It could be his bedroom.
Who knows? It's impossible to say.
Well, it's probably the hotel he works at during the summer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think so? Oh, maybe it's
as head chef.
Yeah, it's the
summer retreat. Yeah.
Yeah. Wendy begs Jack to leave the hotel with Danny, but he confronts and threatens her before she knocks him unconscious with a baseball bat. She drags him into the kitchen and locks him in the pantry, but she and Danny are both trapped at the hotel. Jack has sabotaged the hotel's two-way radio and snowcat.
A snowcat, by the way, is like a snowmobile, not
like
a feline who lives in the snow. Yeah.
Not a snow leopard or whatever.
Yeah.
Jack converses through the pantry door with the ghostly butler Grady, who unlocks the door. I just wanted to give that as little as little drama as it's given in the film, because it's just a normal scene in the film, basically.
The ghost of Delbert Grady unlocks the pantry door, and that's how he gets out.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Danny and Wendy hide in their bedroom, but Jack begins hacking his way into the room with a firefighter's axe. Wendy sends Danny through the bathroom window, but it will not open sufficiently for her to pass. Jack breaks through the bathroom door, shouting, "Here's Johnny!" but retreats after Wendy slashes his hand with a butcher's knife. Hearing the engine of the snowcat Halloran borrowed to reach the hotel, Jack leaves the room. He ambushes and kills Halloran with the axe and pursues Danny into the hedge maze. Wendy runs through the hotel looking for Danny, encountering ghosts and the cascade of blood that Danny envisioned in Boulder. She also finds Halloran's body lying in the lobby. Danny lays a false trail to mislead Jack, who is following his footprints. Wendy and Danny flee in Halloran's snowcat, while Jack, lost in the maze, slowly freezes to death. In a photograph in the hotel hallway, dated July 4th, 1921, Jack Torrance smiles amid a crowd of party revellers.
Yeah. That's the end of the film.
And that is the end of the film. That's the end of The Shining. So, what is going on there? Maybe the best final shot of any film.
You think so?
It's definitely one of them.
It's most memorable, isn't it?
I mean, the modern equivalent would be something like Inception. But that is... I mean, overall, The Shining, I think, is one of the very best films that's ever been made. And it's one of my favourite films as well.
Why?
Why? It's like cross-examination. Yeah. Well, horror movies are traditionally quite hard to do. There are a lot of bad horror movies.
Yes.
Would you agree? We've watched most of them.
We're nearly a year into this. I'd agree with that,
Yeah. We've watched enough of them to know that that's a fact.
Yes.
And not only are they hard to do well, but they're hard to do with any sort of visual flair. Mm-hmm. And Stanley Kubrick is one of the best filmmakers in cinematic history. Yep. I think that's accepted.
Yeah, fair to say, yeah.
Or one of the most influential.
Most interesting, yeah. He broke the mold.
Yeah. And to have him doing a horror movie, and I think it is a horror, it's fairly, renowned as a high point of the genre.
We'll come back to that. I'll question it, but we'll come back to it.
To have, Stanley Kubrick, one of the greatest visual minds, doing a horror movie so well is quite a unique combination, and I think it makes for a really, really good film.
Yes.
Another reason that I like it so much is that it's got depths that have inspired so much analysis since.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the documentary Room 237 a bit later.
If you haven't seen it, probably go away and watch it, and then come back and our analysis of their analysis will make a bit more sense.
Well, it's You don't need to. You don't need to. I mean, probably you've read articles that have talked about the many theories about The Shining. But yeah, I think basically it's a great film, and I think the amount of analysis that has taken place since its release of the film shows the high regard in which Kubrick's work is held.
Sure.
As much as it does the willingness of people to read into a film
more than is necessary.
Yeah.
I dare say though, I mean, you say it's a horror film, and I'd agree it's certainly a horror film, but I wonder whether, because it's got so much sort of symbolism and meta meanings and things like that, whether that takes away from the horror aspect. Like like he's over, like it's an impenetrable film, really.
Okay.
You take the story of Jack Torrance visiting and then going crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's the basic plot. But there's so much weird stuff and ephemeral stuff that happens in between.
Yeah.
That you're kind of like, it's a film that asks more questions than it answers.
Okay.
In every scene.
I know what you mean. I think that, like,
because it's so open to interpret. It's like a Bob Dylan song.
Yeah,
you can
of course.
Interpret it any way you want, and none of them are wrong necessarily.
Yeah, but I would agree. I would agree with you, but I think that 90% of the people who watch the film probably won't even remember those elements. What they'll remember is Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance going mad over the course of the film.
Yes.
And the supernatural stuff. Well, they'll remember, the ghost twin girls appearing.
Yeah.
They'll remember the river of blood coming out the elevator, because they're iconic visual images.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the stuff around it, like the appearance of ghosts that isn't explained, like various things that I'm going to come on to, I don't think that they detract from the horror of the film, because they create an atmosphere where you're not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think the feeling of watching something that you have no it's uncanny,
It's just unsettling.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's various things. You're probably going to bring this up shortly, but I'll bring it up now. The set of the hotel was built to be deliberately disorienting.
Yes.
Like, if you were to look at a blueprint of the hotel, it's impossible, to actually have a structure in that shape. So, I mean, there's the famous scene of Danny riding his tricycle around the corridors.
Yeah.
The route he takes, he turns too many corners for it to be logical.
Yeah.
And there's one part where you see a wall. Mm-hmm. He drives past the end of a wall, which is, say, 2 meters away.
It's
and he keeps going, and then there's doors to rooms which presumably would have to be maximum of 2 meters deep.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, you don't pick up on that immediately when you're just the only reason I know that is because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and stuff about it in preparation for this, and because I'm interested in things like that.
Yeah.
But that all subconsciously must influence your confusion about what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the only person who actually does seem to understand what's happening is Jack Torrance, who says in one scene, "I love this place because as soon as I came here, it's like I knew everything. It's like having deja vu. I knew my way around every corner." But that's interesting, because if you turn a corner, it doesn't make any sense, because you're in a new place completely.
Yeah. That is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. The hotel is almost like a character in itself.
Yes.
Because as you say, the layout of it doesn't make any sense at all. And there's always this thing, especially with films that are prone to over-analysis, that people will read certain things as just a mistake.
Yeah.
Like a goof that the director has made.
I don't believe Stanley Kubrick makes mistakes.
Exactly, right. There's no way that those elements of the film, of The Shining, are not intentional. He is, renowned for being a stickler for detail.
He's got there's a very good John Ronson story. John Ronson, the British journalist. Mm-hmm. He's got a good story. You could probably Google it and find it. I think it's called Citizen Kubrick or something like that.
Right.
He went to visit Stanley Kubrick's archives after he died, and he says there's just boxes and boxes and boxes of research and all these mental things.
Yeah.
So there's no way that any detail in these films isn't there entirely deliberately.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's known for his eye for detail, above and beyond everything. And so the idea that you can just write these things off as continuity errors or errors in design, especially given the fact that they contribute so much to the dream nightmare feel of the film is ridiculous, and it would be too uncharacteristic of Stanley Kubrick to just be a mistake, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's to his credit that this is all in there. Not something to criticise him with, but to say this is actually an amazing thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even to things like, the tracking shots behind Danny when he's on the trike. The corridors seem to be endless. Staircases go up into rooms when they have no business doing so. One of my favourite things is the first scene one of the first scenes in the hotel. Yeah, is Jack walks in the lobby, down the lobby, and into the office of the
manager,
hotel manager. And the wall that should be directly leading onto the corridor has a vista of like a field with snow and trees. Yeah, like from the first scene, there's what would be an absolutely enormous error if you read it as that. But it is to contribute to this feeling that it's like a really weird haunted house. And I think it's the best like haunted house movie that's ever been made, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But yeah, I think it's fair to say that while there are many theories about what is causing the evil within the hotel, the hotel or its influence or some sort of supernatural force that lives in it is sending Jack Torrance mad.
Well, that's one reading. The reading I'm going to stick with is that this is a simple case of mental illness.
Okay.
From everyone involved.
So it's joint mental illness.
Yeah.
Or are you saying...
I'm saying that they're having separate mental illnesses at the same time.
Okay. But what about Danny hearing...
Mental illness.
So you're just passing everything off as mental illness?
Yeah, it's just coincidence. Because he heard him say, do you want some ice cream?
Okay, yeah.
But it was after they came out of a freezer. So maybe he just had, like, I want some ice cream.
Yeah, okay. Well, what about the pantry door being unlocked for Jack?
Was Danny... Do we know Danny didn't do it?
Well, you can't assume that he does. Does he also put on Delbert Grady's voice?
Well, then that's a hallucination.
So a hallucination happens to coincide with Danny for no reason unlocking the pantry door to let his murderous father out that he's terrified of.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
or should we just stop the podcast?
It's all just a misunderstanding.
Yeah. But I love the fact that, like we said earlier, many of the really disturbing parts of the film happen with no context or explanation. Like a good example being the random bear suit blowjob man.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Never explained.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a scene where...
Wendy.
It's Wendy. Yeah, Wendy's walking down a corridor and she looks into one of the rooms. There's an old man sat on the bed and there's another man... we assume, dressed in a bear costume with the butt cut out, like an old prospector's, like, flap.
Yeah.
Apparently giving the guy a blowjob or, in some sort of sexual congress. Yeah. And it's never mentioned.
No.
She doesn't go, like, excuse me, who are you? She's just like, oh,
well, she's already, at this point, she's already, crazed. And
so she thinks it's a hallucination.
No,
which it probably is.
Well, it's hard to say
because she sees the blood.
She also sees the blood coming out the elevator.
But then she sees Halloran's body as well. Mm-hmm. Does she take that to be a hallucination, or does she take that to be legitimate?
We're not given any answer to that question.
No.
But I think like the shining elements of the film. Like I bet if you ask 90% of the people who've seen this film why it's called The Shining, they'll have no idea.
Yeah.
They're so often forgotten, and like. Like a lot of the elements of the film, as we say, it's not really the boundaries of the shining ability aren't really particularly well drawn. Like, it's clear that Danny is suffering or seeing like hallucinations or visions of the hotel's past events because Delbert Grady murdered Charles Grady. I mean, that's never explained either.
A Grady.
Yeah, a man who was the previous caretaker murdered his wife and family.
Yes,
with an axe.
Yes.
And he sees a vision of that. But what purpose is that serving? Is it a warning to him? Is the hotel warning him? Or is it a sign that him and his family are like a part of some sort of repeating cycle?
I think the repeating cycle element is one that comes up a lot in all these analyses because it's the kind of like it's fairly evident, I think, by the end of it, that Jack has some kind of form of the Shining as well.
Yeah.
And that he's gone through his whole life with it, and the hotel calls to him in some way, and Danny is resistant to that.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else around him seems to be like, that's fine. He seems to be broken it in some way. And the fact that he is able to escape the hotel and go back into the real world suggests that the cycle is broken, because he's not going to stay in the hotel and become a guest forever.
Yeah. I mean, like the twin girls don't become the caretakers, but I guess they become a part of the hotel by dying there. Well, is that what the hotel wants? Does it want that? Or because I presume that the idea is that Jack is also shining because
he sees the same things as he goes in rooms and he sees hallucinations.
Yeah, but Dick at the start, the chef who can also shine, says that he got it from his grandmother also did it.
Yeah,
and so it's obviously there's a genetic link there.
It's hereditary.
Yeah. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's that Jack is shining as well, and maybe it's either the influence of the hotel and its ability to shine. It's the hotel is shining in a nefarious way, or is it just that the events are so horrible that the hotel is depicting it pushes a man who's already on the edge over the precipice into total madness? Is it
the hotel that is evil, or is it just that bad things have happened there?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? But it appears that it depends whether you think that the stuff that we were talking about earlier, like the confusing layout, is like some sort of intentional thing by the hotel, like a thing that the hotel is doing. I don't
think we're going to solve the problem here.
But some people did try,
yes.
Joe. And as we said, the documentary Room 237 is basically a collation of the major insane fan theories about The Shining.
Yeah. And these all seem like insane fan theories, like you say, like from mental people who see patterns where there aren't any, too much time on their hands.
Yeah.
But then there does seem to be overwhelming evidence for them.
Well, here are some of my favourite that are touched in the documentary. So a famous one is that the film is an indictment of the American genocide.
Yeah.
So that is to say the slaughter of the American Indians and Native Americans. The thing that makes me not believe this one is that right at the start of the film they mention the fact that the hotel is built on a Native American burial ground, which just seems like a too obvious step. But there are, there's like giant Native American murals in the giant drawing room,
and in the store cupboard for the food, one of the types of beans or whatever has a Native American logo on it.
Yes. And there are a few other references. There's the idea as well that if it's built on a burial ground, maybe the elevator is bringing the blood up from underneath. Do you know what I mean?
It's a river of blood as well.
Yeah. But that's vanilla stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean it's possible Stanley Kubrick had some American guilt about that sort of thing.
Yeah. There's another theory, which is that The Shining is a retelling of the legend of the child-devouring Minotaur.
I thought that actually watching it,
which is the Greek legend, obviously, where the Minotaur lives in a labyrinth. Child gets lost in there, gets chased by the Minotaur, eventually escapes.
Yeah.
And this basically seems to be based almost exclusively on the fact that there's a hedge maze and that Jack sometimes looks a little bit like a bull.
Yeah.
Like moves in a sort of taurine way.
Yeah. He occasionally scuffs his feet on the floor and charges at people when they're wearing red.
Yeah, fair enough. If you want to believe that, if that's your main fan theory for The Shining, then the major one, and this is the one that really.
This is your favourite one?
Yeah, it's my favourite one, basically, is that The Shining is Stanley Kubrick's apology for faking the moon landing.
Apology, mind you.
Apology,
Not a confession.
Yeah, no. So this one is featured prominently in Room 237, and it sounds like nonsense, right?
Because it is.
Well, let me bend your ear,
all right.
Okay? Initial evidence, in inverted commas, is things like Room 237... and 237 is 237,000 miles from the Earth to the Moon. Like that's the mean distance.
Yeah.
Right, and it's there was no 237 at the hotel where they filmed. Right, so he asked for it specially, and the novel has a different room number for the magical room. So Stanley Kubrick changed the room number, Joe.
He wanted 237.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. The scene in which we realise that Jack has just been writing all work in and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah.
Right. Joe, I don't know if you noticed, but all, A-L-L, that looks a lot like A11. Of course, Apollo 11. Right. So, what he's doing there.
Apollo 11 work. Apollo 11 work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah. Apollo 11.
Work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, right? Okay. I'm with you so far.
Yeah. But when I was watching the documentary, the one that made me sit up and take notice is that, you know, you listen to all this and you're like, yeah, fucking whatever. And then they go, and then there's the scene where Danny is wearing an Apollo 11 jumper. Yeah. And you're like, okay. And he is wearing an Apollo 11 jumper and he's sat on the famous iconic patterned carpet.
Yeah, the hexagonal.
Yeah, sort of tessellating hexagons, right? He's sat in the centre of one of those hexagons, right? Did you know that the hexagonal carpet is an exact like-for-like replica in terms of pattern for the Apollo 11 launch pad in Cape Canaveral? And that is true.
Really?
That is actually true. There's a satellite photograph and that is the shape of the launch pads and they link together like that. And he is wearing an Apollo 11 jumper, right? And he's in the centre of one of those launch pad hexagons and he stands up, okay? So that's the rocket launching, right? And he stands up because the room to the door to room 237 has opened. Yeah. Right. So, and on the key fob, Joe, on the key fob for room 237, it says room NO 237. Okay, number
237. Yeah.
So what?
Number 237.
Yeah. What are the What are the only two words that you can spell out of room NO? Right, it's room, that's fine.
Room NO, room number. Room number, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but the O is small, right? The O is small, right? So
it could be no room.
Right, no, but you can spell room, Joe. But what else can you spell, Joe?
More.
What else can you spell? You can spell moon, okay?
On more.
It's moon. So moon room, right? That's the moon room, right?
No,
so
it isn't.
He stands up with the rocket on his jumper and he goes over to the room. He enters the moon room, and what happens in room 237, Joe? Nothing is real, okay? So he's on the moon, but nothing is real.
But no, because
Joe is room 237.
He gets strangled by his father.
Room 237.
That's what happens.
Where nothing is real, okay? He goes to the moon room.
The moon is real.
No, but what happens in the moon room, Joe, is not real. Okay? Now, later on...
It either is... No. Because he's got bruises. He's got bruises.
No, we've accepted that it's not real.
He's got bruises from... What did he do?
We've accepted that what happens in the moon room, room 27, room 237 is the moon room. And what happens there isn't real. Right? We've accepted that.
Yeah.
Right? Later on, okay, Jack says to Wendy, and I'm paraphrasing, you don't know what it's like to have a contract with your employer, and you can't break that contract.
Yeah, okay? That's true of any job.
Yeah, you can't break that contract. But what that's not a line from Joe. That's not a line from the novel. That's not a line from the novel. That's a novel from the pen of Stanley Kubrick. That is his remorseful plea, saying, "I'm sorry for making the fake moon landing video."
You don't know what it's like.
You don't know what it's like to have a contract with an employer.
Yeah.
And his reputation is on the line. Joe, Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landings. It's conclusive proof. And I don't want to hear anything else about it.
I mean, okay? there are landing vehicles on the moon that suggest...
They're quite a lot like snowcats. I'm just saying.
Oh, God. Is that a real theory?
I don't know.
God almighty. It is... The problem with these theories, right, fun though they are, is that it's like they've just gone, I think it's the moon landing, and then they're just looking for evidence to support it. You could find it to support anything. Aliens exist because, every room they go in has a bizarre alien in it. They're all aliens. How about that? Aliens did it, Chris. This is proof of aliens' existence.
No,
Stanley Kubrick was abducted by aliens.
Show me the key fob in the film where you can spell aliens did it, Joe, and I'll believe you. Show me the jumper where he says my parents are aliens. If he was wearing a my parents are aliens jumper, and
no, they're not the aliens. Everyone else in the film is aliens. Maybe this hotel is a mothership. Joe,
I don't think this is very well.
My theory is that so. Are you a believer in this? Theory?
No, of course I'm not. It's fucking insane.
There is a weird amount of evidence for
it. No.
It's almost like he was trying to allude to the moon landing in some other way.
Yeah. I mean, this is 30... Well, this was filmed, I guess, 11 years after...
Well, based on their schedule, probably 9 years after they started.
And the moon landing took place a year after the release of 2001.
Yeah.
So that's where the theory comes from.
The 2001 was practice.
Yeah, so NASA saw 2001 and were like, this is the guy. The most famous filmmaker of a generation. Yeah. That's who we'll get.
Yeah.
And so that's why the rumours stuck around.
Because Stanley Kubrick famously made 2001 solely on his own.
Yeah. And he was responsible for the look, design, all that. Yeah. It's funny that no one else involved in either of the two productions has ever come out at any point and told anyone any different. Why wouldn't Stanley Kubrick just say no?
What, to faking the film?
Yeah.
No. He had a contract with his employer.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was he was contracted to Warner Brothers or whatever, and they subcontracted out, so he's buggered, isn't he?
So it's cut and dry. Yeah. He faked the moon landing. Anyway, Room 237. Yeah. Room 237. It's a great documentary. You should watch it.
Yes.
And the room itself, Joe, where nothing is real, it's the moon room.
The moon room?
It's a very disturbing scene.
Yeah. I mean, I brought it up earlier. Do you think... Because the theory that I kind of hold is that Jack he was in there and he attacked Danny.
Right.
Whether it was under some,
I don't believe that. No.
You think it's more supernatural?
No, because I think Jack is genuinely in the room having a nightmare. He's at his writing desk, and also why wouldn't Danny just say your dad strangled me? Rather than because he says a weird old lady ghost.
Oh, who does appear to Jack as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a really disturbing scene.
It's unsettling.
And it's like, it's interesting as well, because Jack's initial response to the woman appearing suggests there is still some of him left, like his personality, because he gets seduced by her and then like repulsed and backs away and all that sort of thing. But his lack of reaction when he returns to his family suggests that he is like completely insane.
That's the last vestige of his sanity going out the window.
Maybe.
Possibly. Another theory that I really like is that the way that scene is shot, right? So he goes in the bathroom and the woman pulls back the shower curtain and gets out of the bath and walks over to him, and this is as a young woman, middle-aged woman, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, youngish. He starts making out with her, then she, through camera trickery, turns into an old lady with like a rotting back.
Yeah.
At the same time, it cuts to the bath, or it's interspersed. It seems like it's a time sort of thing.
Yeah.
The same woman, apparently, getting out of the bath, or like rising up through the water, appearing to rot in the bath.
Yeah.
Now, we don't see any time shift cutting, editing throughout the whole film. There's some premonitions, but not in terms of actually narrative storytelling.
Right.
So that stands to reason that that's happening at the same time.
Okay.
So there's a woman making out with Jack, and there's a woman in the bath. Now, where have we seen two identical women before, Chris?
Interesting. They're not identical, though, are they? Because there's an age difference of about 50 years.
No, because the one he's making out with, when he steps back, is...
No, I get that, but one of them is really old.
They're both really old by the end of the scene.
No, I get that, but... So you're saying that they were both in the bath?
Yes.
Okay, to start with.
Yeah.
All right. I sort of see what you mean, but I don't know why...
It's the twin girls, Chris.
Yeah.
They're
in the moon room.
They're in the moon room, and they've somehow aged, and it's like they'll never leave because they're just gonna live out their whole lives there.
I'd lean more towards it's just another bad thing that's happened. Do you know what I mean? A bit like the ballroom suddenly appearing full of guests and all that sort of thing. I think it's just, it's like
it's just the memory of the hotel.
Yeah.
So a woman's died in the bath at some point.
Yeah. And obviously the scene that everyone remembers from the film is the "Here's Johnny" and so on scene. You mentioned Shelley Duvall earlier.
Yes.
As Wendy. This is the scene where her terror is like palpable.
Yes. But do you know how they got that reaction out of her?
Is it by basically shooting the scene about 500 times?
Yeah. Apparently they'd get her up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, march her to the set to start filming, and then Jack Nicholson would roll in at like 10 a.m. and he'd be sat like between takes, like smoking cigars and drinking scotch and having a great time with his pals.
Yeah.
And his feet rub, and she'd be like, and he'd be like, oh no, we got to shoot that scene again. We got to shoot it. And he'd work her like a dog.
Yeah.
So that the apparent thing was that Jack Nicholson looked really relaxed when it was shot.
Yeah.
And calm, and she looked overwrought.
Yeah.
And the effect obviously worked because it got the best performance out of everyone, didn't it?
In other words, it's fine to abuse your actors and actresses if you get the performance you want.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a brilliant film.
Yeah. She's interesting casting because she's got quite an unusual look to her, which makes...
You said I think before we started recording that Stephen King said that he disagreed with Jack Nicholson's casting on the basis that Jack Nicholson already looks mad.
He's obviously mental.
Yeah. I would suggest that on a similar basis, Shelley Duvall already looks traumatized and harrowed,
shell-shocked
from the start, because she has a face of someone who's like, it's almost like a constant 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. And like someone who's in denial.
Yeah, she's like the Scream painting.
Yeah.
It's like her face is that constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Joe, she managed to survive the film.
Yes.
As did Danny.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for how they could have survived? How Halloran could have survived? Maybe the twins could have survived? Or Jack, even?
Yeah.
Could any of them have survived better? These are the questions.
I think the answer is yes to all of those.
Okay. Please enlighten me.
And my first one is kind of a horror movie survivor staple. A little bit vanilla, perhaps. Just listen to the bad omens. Pay attention. So, come to this hotel, right? Fine. Come and stay at my hotel, Chris.
Sure.
Anything you need to consider? Yeah. How about... It's a murder house, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is always a bad thing. Like, if you said... If you came to my hotel, though, and I said, oh, by the way, there was a murder here.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, that's weird. But you're a skeptical person. So you wouldn't go, oh, I'll leave.
No, well, how about this? Someone matching your description, the exact same as you, with the family. They came to the hotel and went mad and killed their family.
I still think you're so skeptical that you wouldn't.
You wouldn't think it would
you
happen
don't
to
live in a horror movie.
No, true. Okay, it was built on an Indian burial ground.
Yeah.
Bad luck.
Yeah, all right. Would you, like, if someone left a ladder over the doorway, would you not walk underneath it? Or if a black cat ran across your path, would you not go there?
Well, I almost didn't show up today for the same reason.
Yeah. No, I take your point, but that requires the characters to realise that they're in a
horror movie.
Yeah, a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so. Although it's quite a bad omen. I mean, from the perspective of logic, though.
Yeah. If
someone said to me, look, just to warn you, someone came into this job before, and it is very isolated, and I think the isolation drove them mad. We haven't changed anything about that system. It's still exactly the same. You'll still be out of contact with everyone. You'll still be snowed in for 7 months, basically. You have no contact with the outside world, and there's a chance, at least, that you'll go mad and murder your entire family. Now, we're not taking any precautions, because it happened before, but, what's the chances it will happen again?
But, I mean, you said there's a chance you might murder your entire family. I don't think... I mean, he does have a history of violence, but I don't think anyone is... You wouldn't... I mean, there's a chance that you might go home tonight and murder everyone in your house, but...
I doubt it.
Yeah, but...
Because I'm not going to be in there for, 7 months with them.
Yeah, but that...
It's what the old... It's in the movie, he says.
So what you're saying is don't...
call cabin fever.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying is don't isolate yourself from the world in any context.
Well, for 7 months, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I see what you mean, yeah.
What do they do on the International Space Station or something? Presumably they've got board games or something.
Well, they murder each other, Joe.
Famously.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the isolation.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, similarly, another How to Survive staple, Make good on your attempts to incapacitate your killer.
Yep.
How many times do we talk about this, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like every week now.
Well, to be fair, she did what she thought was enough.
Yeah, but you're right.
But
It's complicated by the fact that the hotel itself seems to be against her in some sort of supernatural way.
Yeah.
Specifically,
she
invoking the ghost of Delbert Grady.
She didn't account for Delbert Grady.
Always. That should be a How to Survive staple. Always account for Delbert Grady. But basically, if not that scene, right? There's the scene where he sticks his whole face in the gap in the door to say, "Here's Johnny."
Yeah.
Just
stab him in the eye.
Stab in the face. Yeah. Job done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stab him in the face. Collect Danny.
Yeah.
Halloran arrives.
Everyone's
all of them
doing it.
survive. Yeah.
Except Jack.
Yeah. But he's gone by that point.
You think the man's dead and it's just a husk of a man now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think there's a way back for Jack Torrance when it gets to that point.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So just make good on the advantage, I guess.
Yeah.
But does that break her motivation? Because I'm sure she won't want to kill her husband.
I would agree with you if we were talking about the baseball bat scene.
Yes, but this is when he's fully trying to kill him.
Yeah, with an axe.
Yeah.
And surely her priority, and as evidenced by her behaviour, because she does attack him with a knife, as evidenced by her behaviour, is her priority is saving Danny.
Yeah, fair enough.
And if that means at the cost of Jack, then fair enough.
One more quick one. Another horror movie thing. Listen to the old man. Don't go into room 237.
Yeah. Well, that is basically the same as your first one, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll throw that one away, but here's one. I've just started a new job, Chris, and the way that you kind of ensure having a positive start in that job is by having a decent handover period. Yeah. Don't show up on closing day. Yeah. When you're caretaking for the whole closed period.
It's interesting that that's slack. That's lax management from the owners of the hotel as well, isn't it?
5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, there is a month gap between the first scene that we see in the hotel of them arriving and then we skip to a month later. So there could have been an extensive 3-week handover period, but it's wrong for us to assume that there was, given that we don't see any evidence and everyone seems to be packing up to leave. Yeah. I think there's a point made, in fact, the manager says, everyone get out of here because it's amazing. Doesn't he say it's amazing how quickly everyone clears
disappears?
Out? Yeah,
so they just disappear into the walls, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fine. Here's what I'd do if I was the hotel manager. This quite relates to my other point earlier. For a couple of days, come in a week early, Jack, because we'd like you to spend some time with our psychologist who's going to prepare you for the months of isolation you're about to have.
Yeah. That is true. I bet on the International Space Station they do have counselling and therapists, beforehand. Here's a question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
What can and can't Danny communicate via Shining?
Well, we know he can. Well, we'll take The Shining to be real.
Yeah.
Although I'm still convinced
he's sceptical.
A mutual.
It's because you're a naturally sceptical person.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So he can at least read minds when someone else is trying to, encourage them to do so. So if I'm sending you a message mentally now, like I am, what am I saying?
You're saying, don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. Just open your podcast app and leave us a review. 5 stars would be appreciated. It helps us meet a wider audience.
Close enough. So I think it has to be. It's like a telephone.
Right.
You can't talk to someone if they're not on the other end.
Okay. Right. But he does. I mean, he's shown.
He in the sense he rings up Halloran.
Yeah.
On his holiday, and he's like, "Oh, hey."
Okay. Yeah.
But he doesn't use words for that. It's more of a feeling.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, so he can. But Halloran can transmit words, definitely. Yeah. Because he looks at him and goes, "Would you like some ice cream, Danny?"
When he's talking. Yeah. Yeah.
So which is good. It's impressive multitasking. Yeah. But so it is possible to transfer words, right? So what I'm asking basically is if you can mentally communicate with Dick from across the country, can he not?
You do that, don't you?
Can he not say, "My dad is trying to murder me"?
Yeah. Well, we don't know.
Well, my question as well is that what he says anyway?
How do you mean?
Like, is that the message that he's translating?
I don't know. All we ever get is that Halloran seems.
He seems to have. Halloran seems to be like.
very upset with whatever message comes through. He's more like a shock. Yeah.
But if that is what he's communicated, then why doesn't Dick say there's a man trying to murder a boy and his mother at the Overlook Hotel, rather than just, I think someone should check up on them when he phones up the police? And further to that, why don't the police check up on them?
Are you going to ask why the police are bad in a horror movie?
But, all right.
That's our job done. Thanks a lot.
We better stop the podcast.
Yeah. No, I suppose... They tried radio.
It seems like a failure of communication.
Well, it's hard to get up there, isn't it?
Yeah, but if Halloran, I don't believe that it's quicker for Halloran to fly from Florida to Colorado and then hire a snowcat and then drive up there on his own
in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least take someone with you. There's like 3 seats in the snowcat.
Yeah.
Surely if you tell a police officer, I'm certain that there's a murder about to take place, a double murder.
Yeah. Related to what you were saying just now about what can be sent through The Shining.
Yeah.
What do we actually know about the villain in this piece? Because presumably, everyone would say it's Jack, right? He's the villain.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
Is it the hotel?
Is it the hotel?
Who knows?
Is the hotel sending the messages? Is Danny the villain? Is Jack the villain?
Yeah, that's quite a leap to make Danny the villain.
I don't know. He's doing a lot of weird things.
I mean...
is Tony the villain?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's an impossible question to answer.
Because Tony, presumably, is a result of The Shining.
Tony, in the novel, right? In the novel, which I know, in the novel, right? But in the novel, The Shining, Tony is Danny's future self communicating to him from the future.
Why is he called Tony?
I don't know, mate. Maybe he changed his name to get away from his family's history.
So Tony, for anyone who hasn't seen The Shining and has still listened to this whole podcast and not turned it off, is like an imaginary friend, I guess. That's what they keep calling it, an imaginary friend. Although it's more like a split personality. And when Danny is communicating via Tony, he waggles his finger.
Yeah, and speaks in a sort of weird, raspy voice.
Yeah.
Red rum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you said that that's his future self. We don't know that from the film.
No, of course not.
That's not in the text.
Yeah, no, it's true. But it's impossible to say. The questions you've posed, they're impossible to answer based on what we...
So we don't know. We don't even know what we're dealing with, really.
No. But, I mean, what we can do is attack the actual cause of their deaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Axe to the chest?
Well, no.
Cure for that?
Well, that's difficult. I mean, triage in that sort of environment, cold, you probably not...
Jack wear a thicker coat when you go out in the maze? Yeah.
Well, my advice for Jack, rather than a thicker coat, is how to solve any maze.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you get this?
So this is just from the font of all knowledge, Wikipedia.
Okay.
So there are certain algorithms that you can employ to solve any maze.
Okay.
Okay, assuming that they follow a real world structure,
which we don't know they do.
Well,
because
that is true. Yeah. But presumably, if the hedge maze was controlled by the supernatural forces, it would just stop Danny from leaving.
Yeah.
So, algorithm number 1: the left or right hand rule. Okay. So this is fairly straightforward. Follow the left or right hand wall at all times until you reach the exit. So basically, you're in a maze corridor. Yeah. Place your right hand on a wall. Yeah. Or your left hand. Yeah. Just keep that in contact with the wall at all times. Keep walking. Yeah. And eventually you'll find.
Because essentially, it's a tube.
Yeah. Because even if there are dead ends, you'll walk around them and then back out. And it will might take you forever. You might still freeze to death. Yeah. But you won't get lost. Yeah. You'll always be going somewhere, Joe. Then there's the pledge algorithm. Okay. So this is the same as the left to right rule. Yeah. If you employ that rule and there's an object in the middle, you can end up going in a circle because you can just get trapped, right? Following the same thing. That's the problem. Right. This algorithm circumvents that, right? Because when your hand reaches such an object or an event in the maze, you start turning until you've basically covered all angles and returned to 360 degrees, at which point you remove your hand from the wall and continue. Mm-hmm. It helps to have a compass, though. Okay. Because then you can tell which way's north. Yeah. And you know definitely whether you've rotated 360 degrees. Yeah. And it won't help you get to the centre of the maze if that's your destination. If you're trying to solve the maze by getting to the middle, this algorithm isn't going to help you.
Okay, right.
Okay. Then there's the Tremo algorithm.
Okay.
I can tell you're on tenterhooks, AJ. Right, so this is the one where you use lines or marks to ensure that you don't cut back on yourself by marking a junction every time you pass it.
It's like a breadcrumb trail.
Yeah, but every time you pass, let's say you come to a crossroads, you go left, right. As you go left, you mark that path with a 1, with a line. Yeah. And then if you get to a dead end, come back, you mark it again, so that's 2. Yeah. Okay, and then you go to the next one, mark it with 1, come back, that's 2. Then mark it with 1, and then that is obviously the option where the maze is going to continue, right? So when you get to the centre, all you need to do at every junction is follow the entrance that has 1s. Yeah. So 1 mark, a single mark, and eventually that would lead you back to where you came from. And that is what Jack should have done, because he goes out into the maze and then he needs to get the way back. And there was snow on the ground, so he could have easily. He's even got an axe with which he could
easily score some snow.
Exactly. Yeah. More to the point, though, Joe, why doesn't Jack just wait in the warm until Danny either freezes to death or returns? At which point you can just axe him to death.
Wait at the entrance.
Yeah. Or what? Just you could stand in the hotel with the door ajar. Yeah. Just watching. There he is. Now I'll go murder him.
Yeah. That's true. Or get in the snowplow.
Or just plough through the maze.
Yeah. Or to block off the exit so he can never get out.
Yeah. You could do that.
Yeah. Well, we know that Jack goes mad, right? And this is shortly after he experiences what could only be described as a night terror. Now we know it's a night terror and not a nightmare, because night terrors are common in children between the ages of 3 and 8 years. A child who experiences night terrors may scream, shout, or thrash around in extreme panic. So we know he's doing that. He's shouting, he's screaming, he's kicking up a fuss. Now, the best thing to do if your child is having an episode of night terrors is to stay calm and wait until they calm down. Don't intervene or interact with them unless they're not safe. But he's not in any danger, is he? Really?
No.
He's got his head on the table. Night terrors can be frightening to witness, but they don't harm your child. You shouldn't attempt to wake your child when they're having an episode. They may not recognise you, or they may become agitated if you try and comfort them. Now, we've seen this earlier in the film.
Yes.
When Wendy goes to see Jack when he's working, and she says, maybe you should take a break, maybe you should hang out, chill out a bit, and he goes off the handle, doesn't he?
He goes mad, yeah.
Yeah. If the night terror episodes are frequent and occur at a specific time of night, we don't know, that's not given, but you may find that waking your child breaks the cycle, so there is that to consider. But generally, most children grow out of night terrors. However, talk to your GP if they're occurring several times a night or across most nights. Now, it doesn't say what age you're supposed to outgrow night terrors, but Jack is a 40-year-old man.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is advice from the NHS for children who have night terrors. I would say if he's an adult man having night terrors, he's probably got an anxiety disorder.
Yeah. I mean, are they... We have no evidence that he's been suffering them before he went to the hotel, though. So maybe it's environmental. Maybe from being... in the hotel. Yeah. Or they're being invoked some way supernaturally by the hotel.
Well, you can't get around that, can you? You can't stop the hotel.
Burn it down?
You could burn it down. Don't know if that would work, though, because... maybe
that would release the evil within.
The blood would put it out, wouldn't it? The gushing blood.
That's true, yeah.
I do have one final one. And this could have solved all the problems, And this comes from highperformancelifestyle.net. 11 efficient ways to refocus and eliminate distractions.
All right.
Because one of the big things that Jack wants to do in this place, and that's the kind of thing that gets on his nerves a bit, is that he can't get down to work.
Yeah.
He's got this writer's block. He can get distracted all the time by that annoying wife of his.
Yeah.
Here's some tips. Number 1, kill instant notifications.
I thought you were going to say kill your wife and child.
No. Instant notifications.
Okay. I mean, this takes place in the 1980s, so not an issue for him.
No instant notifications in 1980 at a rural retreat.
No, tick.
Put the phone away.
Okay.
He does go out of his way to disable the two-way radio.
That's true. He does do that. Tick.
Yep. Close all unnecessary programs.
Okay. In 1970s, 80s context, that would be what?
Well, they do watch TV a lot. They're watching Looney Tunes. They're watching maybe Dallas.
I was thinking more of like an exercise program.
Yeah.
So stop that. In fact, at the early point in the film, he's seen exercising, throwing a baseball against the wall. Yeah. But we then don't see him. Yeah, tennis ball
later on when he rolls it to Danny to invite him into the room. Because it's definitely him who does it.
To invite him into the to the moon.
Yeah, to the moon.
Yeah. You can see that's the capsule being loaded onto the rocket to be sent to the moon. That's
is that the theory? Okay. So close all unnecessary programs.
And him throwing it against the wall initially represents the failed attempts before Apollo 11.
Yeah.
Because they kept having to return.
Close all unnecessary programs, like the space program.
Yeah.
Close that. That's unnecessary.
Sure.
Yeah. So we put tick there.
Tick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Train other people.
Okay.
I'll expand on that.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to prevent them from... People often distract you when you're trying to work. The best way to prevent them from doing so is to set ground rules and clearly communicate them to everyone. Now, Jack does that, doesn't he? Because Wendy comes over and he says, listen, if you hear these keys typing...
Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
So he does try and convince her, so we can tick that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Use headphones. No, he doesn't listen to any music. There isn't any music available that we know of.
No.
So perhaps the next caretaker should bring headphones along for whatever reason. Clear visual clutter.
Okay.
So...
But a Spartan work environment.
Yes, exactly. Now, I'd say the Overlook Hotel is far from a visual clutter-free environment. It's actually overwhelmingly confusing everywhere you look.
Difficult.
So leave that unticked. Clear computer clutter.
Okay. No computers in the film.
No, not one.
Tick.
Take care of all physical necessities. Now, I'm not sure what they include as a necessity. Certainly relieving yourself, I'm sure, in the toilet or eating if you need to, which we see him do. He eats throughout the film.
Yeah.
Don't know what else would be considered a necessity, really. What are Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Does he get all those?
I don't know. Don't know them off the top of my head.
No. Well, fine. We put it in the maybes.
Yeah.
Adjust room temperature. Now, what he does there is he goes too far, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He freezes to death.
Yeah. That's a common mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, although throughout the film he is adjusting the room temperature after a fashion his wife is at the very least, because they are running the boilers and they're cycling the central heating.
Yeah, so maybe
it's a half tick.
Maybe what's happening is he's trying to work in a room which during that period has the boiler on full blast to clear the pipes, when really he should have gone to a different room which is perhaps more level. And the final point is turn off your clock.
Okay.
And I don't remember seeing a clock in the film.
No. So tick.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all 11, yeah.
So, but he doesn't actually... These don't help him, do they?
No, but he
does... Oh, but he doesn't do all of them.
No, he doesn't. So he should have bought headphones, basically.
Oh, right, okay. And clear
the visual cluster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All of this could have been avoided if he just followed those simple steps.
Exactly. So thanks very much, highperformancelifestyle.net.
Yeah.
You've been a great help.
And if you'd like to help with any survival tips or suggestions of films that we could cover, then the email address, as ever, is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. And we're also on Twitter. The Twitter handle is @howtosurvivepod. Next week, we are covering the Austrian film Goodnight Mummy, another in our series of parental guidance films.
We've just watched it in advance of next week. And it's a doozy, isn't it?
It's going to be an interesting discussion.
Yeah. Seek it out. It's from 2014, so it's probably fairly widely available, although I'd assume it's a limited release.
Yeah.
So maybe Amazon it, or find it on a streaming site of your choice if it's available.
So thanks very much for listening. And Joe, are these your notes?
Yeah, they're mine, yeah. What do you think?
All Joe and no Chris makes How to Survive a Good podcast. Did you read the thing about the camera operator? Because I think he's the guy who invented the Steadicam.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
There's so much Steadicam in the film. He signed up to do the film, and then various delays happened in them starting. And he'd also signed up to do Rocky 2, and he he said basically he had 6 months. He had 6 months before he had to go do Rocky 2. And then, so they were like, yeah, fine, we'll get it done in 6 months. And it overran by almost a year, or over a year, in fact. It went on for 500 and something days.
Just to shoot?
Yeah, just for The Shining. And they had to cut a deal where he was flown by Concorde from the set of The Shining to Rocky 2, and he filmed both at the same time, and Rocky 2 wrapped before The Shining did.
Wow.
Yeah. See, IMDb's not all bad.
No, it's not all bad, but mostly it's bad.
Yeah.
Midnight brought us sweet romance.